How do you get past the point of wanting to comfort yourself with any kind of substance?
There are people that live their whole life that are okay with having one or two drinks. And I'm grateful to not be one of those people, because I would be tethered to this thing still because it hasn't caused me enough problems in my life. Welcome to Of Sober Mind, episode 1. My name is Osman Carroll, but I go by Coach O. This is my wife, Christina. Today, we are just going to tackle what does it mean to be of sober mind.
So let's start there. What does it mean to be of sober mind?
Okay. Well, to be of sober mind, to me, means to be more present, more intentional, to live life on purpose. In scripture, being of sober mind is mentioned in the context of alertness, readiness. And so in that sense, it's more than just abstaining from alcohol, but to be of sober mind, that you have to be sober from distraction.
So if I hear you correctly, then of sober mind, redefined.
That was a long definition, wasn't it?
Of sober mind redefined is clarity, readiness, awareness. Anything else?
Intentionality.
I like it. Because once upon a time, I think so many of us, when we hear sobriety, we do think abstaining from a thing. But what you're saying is to be of sober mind is more intentional. It's more positive movement toward a thing, toward alignment, as opposed to just staying away from something bad.
Sobriety to me has to be more than just not drinking. When you stop drinking, there's still a void.
Then maybe you pick up a different habit.
Maybe you pick up a different habit because you're not intentional about filling that void with the healthier things, the things that are going to serve the lifestyle that you ultimately want to live, right? Because if anybody that has experienced addiction before and has successfully gotten away from it, there's a sense, you have to have a sense of hope for a better future. Right? You have to be able to see a better future for yourself, and in order to make that change. And sometimes when you're deep in it, it's hard to see.
How do you get past the point of wanting to comfort yourself with any kind of substance?
There are people that live their whole life that are okay with having one or two drinks every now and then. And I'm grateful to not be one of those people, because I feel like I would be stuck. And I would be tethered to this thing still because it hasn't caused me enough problems in my life.
That makes sense.
And so I'm grateful to have taken the fast track to rock bottom, for me to realize I don't want this to be a part of my life at all.
Can you talk about, so you and I have had a lot of conversations about rehab in 2020 and what you learned that has been life-changing. Can you share that here?
There was a lot that I learned in rehab, and I often have expressed that going to rehab, like inpatient rehab for 30 days, was one of the best things that happened to me. It was very hard to mentally get myself there during that first week, but once I realized that is exactly where I needed to be, I became a student again and just began to learn everything about addiction and what's going on inside of me and others, and then connecting with others. And one of the more powerful things that I did learn was just about the cycle of addiction. Addiction is a learned behavior. And so it's trigger leads to thought, leads to a feeling, which leads to action, which leads to relief, which is reinforcement. The next time you experience stimulus, brain suggests, hey, this worked last time. You do it again, you experience that same chemical release again. And every time you go through that cycle, that hold becomes stronger. And that's how addiction happens.
So you go through these 5 steps, if you will, and then you get to release or relief. And even if you don't necessarily feel good, and what came to mind was, I think there can be shame often even as you have this chemical release of dopamine or whatever other hormone, it's still, I hate that I'm doing it. Like almost like a feeling of self-sabotage. I know I'm self-sabotaging, but the brain is looking for this release, which brings me to clarity, mental clarity. So can we talk about the discomfort of clarity and sobriety and what that's been like?
Yeah. So I think that's the uncomfortable part of sobriety. When you stop going to the thing that took your mind away, because now you're forced to face yourself, your past, the shame associated with, which is not a bad thing, right? And doesn't always require action either. It just requires you just to kind of sit with it until you realize like I'm okay. That is my past. That is not, it doesn't define who I am now. That is being of sober mind. That is clarity. What shame does, it keeps you from being your best self.
So what you're talking about is the discomfort of clarity and how this sobriety journey means sitting in that discomfort and moving beyond it and not letting it, not succumbing to it. I
really
suppose.
having to process and deal with the discomfort. It's dealing with that stress like one thing at a time. You're only one person, and like that's one thing that I had to learn is that I can only deal with one thing, like what's in front of me. You can only focus on one thing at a time. So focus on does it deserve a response? Maybe not, but you have to find a way to move past it and then focus on the next thing. Okay, what do I need to do here? Handle it and move on. It is that simple, but you kind of have to put your head down and just focus on one thing at a time.
Well, and look, the only reason I'm smiling is because I'm sitting here pregnant with our fourth. We have 5 kiddos, 4 that'll be 7 and under. And, you know, if you're only handling one thing at a time, it's going to make life really interesting with these 4. But
you, I mean, yeah, but you are in a sense always, even if you're multitasking, you're always only dealing with one thing at a time.
So let me ask you this. One of the things that you've become clearer on in this journey is faith. So how has faith been a rock for you? What is it? What role does it play in this journey?
Talking about the shame component, which was I think a big part of mine. And if I'm being very honest, it was probably one of the things that took me the longest time to overcome. My belief in God, in my relationship with God, what is it allowed me to do was not label myself from where I've come from, and rather like on who He's called me to be. I wouldn't have the understanding that I do now. I wouldn't have the ability to help the people that I have now had I not gone through the fire myself.
Yep.
You know? And so I understand that all that I went through with my struggle with addiction was for His purpose. That in itself allows me to kind of put shame to the side because it's bigger than me at that point.
I like that.
You know,
I like that.
Clarity can be uncomfortable because when you stop numbing, you start feeling. When you stop escaping, you start noticing. And when you slow down, things start to surface. But understand that discomfort isn't danger. Like you're not in danger just because you're uncomfortable facing a thing. It's simply it's awareness, right?
I like that. Discomfort doesn't mean danger. That's good.
Yeah.
What is this podcast really about?
Of Sober Mind is not going to be a podcast that's telling you to quit. It's a podcast designed to help you decide what to keep in your life. What I encourage people to keep is clarity. Keep clarity, keep strength, keep presence, keep discipline, keep purpose.
I like that too.
God's purpose, not our own. That's a very clear distinction that we have to make.
Yeah, our purpose isn't always going to get us there. But the reason I like what you said is because this comes back to the intentionality and alignment, right? So often when people think so often when people think of sobriety, they think of abstaining from a bad thing as opposed to moving intentionally toward.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is the positive reinforcement. It's like, what's that in Boss Baby, where he says, if you focus on the tree and you don't want to hit the tree, you're going to hit the tree. But if you focus on, the goal, the stars, whatever, then you're going to.
And that's it, right? Like focus on the journey ahead rather than the past. And when you do that long enough, you look up and that past is back there, and it's no longer, no longer has a hold on you. I think that if more people are able to just kind of focus on the journey ahead, step by step, one thing at a time, those things that have been holding them back from their next level will just kind of disappear in the rear view mirror, you know?
And that's the point here. Who is this podcast for? Why did you start it?
A big part of me doing this podcast is to share my journey, to share what has worked for me and what I've heard has worked for others, and to have other people to come on and share their stories.
And experts as well.
Yeah.
People who study the brain and study how exercise improves sobriety and so on and so on.
Yes, absolutely. So, and to help provide tools just to basically live a healthier lifestyle. I mean, this is, by and large, this is a health and fitness podcast,
and
right?
Fishing.
And fishing, because like those are the tools that I've learned that have helped me to live life on purpose, to be the father, to be the husband that I want to be more present and to be more intentional. There's something about moving the body and doing hard things and overcoming those things and being out in nature and breathing and slowing the mind down out there, that there's a healing component to it that I deeply believe in. I feel I've been called to create this platform to help people with my sobriety journey, because it doesn't feel like enough for me to just live my life sober and to do well and to grow beyond it. If I can't help anybody else that's going through the same thing, I would miss what God wants me to do with that. I guess.
Then who is this for?
So this podcast is for people that are striving to be better. Anybody looking to optimize their health, their lifestyle. There's never an end to that, but it's a constant striving through this life.
I like it. Okay, so what final words do you have as we close out this first episode?
This first episode, first, thank you for joining me. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to have a beautiful co-host, but I like it. It takes a lot of pressure off of me. I mean, I'll do it, but I don't necessarily prefer to do a talking head video where y'all are just subject to looking at my face the whole time. You know what I mean? Behold. And also for anybody out there, especially if you're still watching now, man, if you have any thoughts, ideas on what you would like to hear more of, please let us know. Comment, like, subscribe, share this with other people that have been curious, but haven't yet found the words to say or even ask. Our goal here is to just reach as many people as possible. That's all I have. Do you have anything?
I don't. Thanks for having me.
Thank y'all for joining Of Sober Mind. We'll see you next time.